The DeWalt can be considered simply as an arbor, which can be placed in any conceivable position in relation to a fixed, rigid working table and a fixed guide. Direct motor drive is used for maximum smoothness and power. The arbor and motor are supported by a yoke which permits the motor to be revolved vertically through 360 degrees. The yoke itself can be revolved horizontally 360 degrees. The yoke is suspended from a carriage which travels on a horizontal cantilever arm. This cantilever arm can be moved right or left on the upright column which supports it. The column can be elevated or lowered. One turn of the elevating handle moves the column on this model exactly 1/16 of an inch. The DeWalt is approved by every state safety commission. By using the bottom of the saw instead of the top, the guard is never in the way, and rarely, if ever, will you see a DeWalt saw operated with the entire guard removed. By this design, the saw or cutter is adjusted in relation to the material with permanent extension gauges always available, instead of adjusting the material to the saw, forcing the use of considerably more floor space and many temporary extension gauges. Prior to the perfection of the DeWalt machine, the flexibility generally available in most woodworking shops was a tilting table with movement restricted between 0 and 45 degrees. Even the finest variety saw obtainable offered only a simple bevel adjustment of the arbor from 0 to 45 degrees. In operating this machine, it is important to consider it for each particular purpose as if that were the primary purpose. In considering it as a saw, remember there are only 6 different cuts that are generally made with any saw. Straight cross cut, angle cross cut, straight rip, bevel cross cut, compound cross cut, and bevel rip. All others are variations of these cuts. On the DeWalt saw, any of these 6 cuts can be made without changing the position of the material. For straight cut-off, the arm is swung at right angles to the guide strip and locked in position. The wedge lock ensures absolute rigidity and accuracy at 90 degrees to the table. To see more clearly the operation of the tools, we will now remove the lower part of the safety guard. The direction of the saw is down and back, forcing the material firmly down on the table and against the guide strip. All work is from the top of the material, where layout marks are in plain view. For right and left hand mitering, the saw is swung to the required angle on the horizontal protractor scale and clamped in place. An additional positive latch is provided for the 45-degree settings. The saw rides through the material with ease. Fingertip pressure is enough to control the movement. In no other type machine does the combination rip and cut-off saw show up to such advantage. Before this machine was designed, it was necessary to swing the material 90 degrees to change from cross-cut to rip. Now we simply revolve the saw. This is true of any angle or bevel cut. No matter what kind of cut we are making, material always feeds parallel to a straight line and on a level work table. Only one guide is used and it is rigidly located. To set up for ripping, the saw is revolved 90 degrees from the straight cross-cut position, then locked, and the anti-kickback device is adjusted to the stock. The arm is equipped with an easily visible scale to measure the width of ripping, an exclusive DeWalt feature. Another exclusive feature, a reversible guide, permits ripping to the center of a 48-inch panel. And of course, this same feature substantially increases the length of straight and angular cutoff and dadoing. Ripping can be done from either the right or left-hand side of the table. The elimination of vibration results in smooth cuts. By the use of a guide, material with crooked sides can be converted to smooth, parallel sides. In bevel cross-cutting, the saw is tilted on the vertical protractor scale. It can be clamped at any angle or wedge locked at 0, 45, and 90 degrees. A compound miter can be made just as easily by swinging the beveled saw to the required angle on the horizontal scale. It is the first machine designed to make a compound cut in one operation in this manner. Setting the arm to straight, bevel cutoff position, revolving the saw, and locking it parallel with the guide strip puts it in position for bevel ripping. With these adjustments, any sawing cut possible can be made. You can even position the motor vertically and still maintain perfect saw travel. In the past, dadoing was done from under the material, where layout marks were hard to see. Frequently, the material was pushed over the dado head, in which case feeding the variable lengths, widths, and thicknesses of material required varying amounts of time and effort. The DeWalt machine instead accurately moves the dado head on preloaded ball bearings over stationary material, always feeding the dado at a uniform rate. Layout marks are in plain view. 12 2x4x10s were squared both ends and tenoned in 40 seconds. Any reasonable combination of saws, dados, spacers, or cutters can be quickly attached to the arbor. This eliminates the use of innumerable sizes of throat plates. Changing over from saw to dado head requires only a few seconds. Always before applying tools, make certain both the sides of tools and arbor collars are free of dust or dirt to prevent vibration and ensure smooth cuts. For cross-dadoing work, the machine is rigidly locked in position with the head at right angles to the table and the guide strip. The dado can be operated in both directions. For angle dadoing, the arm is unlocked, swung to the required angle, and relocked. No measuring or marking of the work is necessary when cutting parallel angle dados. The preloaded ball bearings in the sturdy arm guarantee parallel cuts, and a mark or stop on the guide maintains them the desired distance apart. By reversing the guide, you get the same capacity on left-hand dadoing as on right-hand. You can quickly adjust for plowing by setting the dado parallel to the guide. With the dado head, radius cutting is controlled by the angle at which the dado head is set to the guide strip. The machine can be quickly adjusted for bevel plowing. Width, depth, and length of cut can be accurately determined in advance of actual cutting. With the motor vertical and the dado horizontal, any width groove can be made with the stock lying flat. Or the material can be fed on edge between start and stop marks on the table for blind grooves in the center of wide stock. The dado head is adjusted for depth by the crank at the rear of the cantilever arm. Each turn of the crank makes a 1/16 inch adjustment. Because of the extreme accuracy of this adjustment, no ruler is needed. The dado head is locked horizontal to the table for straight rabbeting, and stock may be introduced at any point or rabbeted its entire length. It is unnecessary to build up the dado head in horizontal position. It can be moved in and out horizontally, using the diameter instead of the thickness of the dado head to obtain different widths of straight or bevel rabbeting. The dado head can be inclined at any angle for bevel rabbeting. Width and depth of cut can be quickly set. In order to tenon either angle or double-shouldered tenons with or without coping cutters, it is simply necessary to add the spacing collars desired. With the cutters parallel to the tabletop, the material can be laid flat on the level table and fed rapidly with a feed block. By attaching a countersunk cutter, dado cuts the full width of the diameter of the dado can be quickly made at any angle, such as used for notching heel cuts and rafters and so forth, either one at a time or in multiples by ganging the stock. When used as a shaping machine, the DeWalt has remarkable flexibility. The shaper head can be raised or lowered to use any part of the cutting surface, moved transversely or tilted to different pitches with calibrations to control each movement. In other words, the shaper has controlled vertical, horizontal, and tilting arbor adjustment, enabling one tool to produce a bead and cove cut, a cove cut alone, a cove and shoulder, bead cut alone, and many other variations. In this way, one shaper cutter takes care of many cuts. Moreover, the arbor is removable, and shaper arbors of various lengths and sizes can be substituted to accommodate your present solid cutters with various sized arbor holes. The DeWalt can be used with serrated inserted knives in positive locked safety heads, or with a slotted arbor permitting the use of standard bevel-edged knives from your shaper cutter rack, or for irregular shaping with a roller collar. By use of a straight matching cutter, material can not only be jointed, but can be sized with stock fed against a straight edge located at the front of the table. By tilting the arbor, panels of any pitch can be raised without changing the panel raising cutter. This also makes for an excellent saving in cutters, as well as a saving in time. For reversible shaping, the motor can be revolved 180 degrees and the cutter placed on the opposite end of the shaft. And because tools can be used on either end of the motor in this model, right-hand twist drills and other right-hand tools can be used. Or a barrel saw can quickly stamp out circular parts or bore sizable holes. A cup emery wheel and other types of grinding wheels are quickly attached or removed and are handy for all types of grinding. For fluting in the center of the stock, the cutter can be lowered into the material and raised on reaching the end of the cut. The DeWalt machine will duplicate the operations of many other woodworking machines and will do the job as well as, or better than, many machines which have been designed for one purpose alone. On the DeWalt machine, any kind of rotary tool within the capacity of the horsepower selected can be used and can be put in any position. We do not have the fourth dimension, but we can locate the saw or cutter in any position of the three. The saw can be put in any position. The dado head can be put in any position. The shaper can be put in any position. The routing tool can be put in any position. The fluting cutter can be put in any position. On the DeWalt machine, we can revolve the arm 360 degrees. Revolve the motor yoke 360 degrees. Revolve the tool and motor within the yoke vertically 360 degrees. In this unit, the carriage rides on machined tracks inside the cantilever arm on 8 self-aligning ball bearings. 4 of these bearings run on bevel tracks to maintain a straight saw curve. The other 4 run on horizontal tracks to maintain carriage movement parallel to the working table. Because the carriage rides within the arm, both carriage and tracks are protected from dust and rust. Rigid mechanical adjustments are provided to maintain the accuracy of every setting on the DeWalt variety machine. A square is used to check and maintain the accuracy of cross-cutting. Opposing set screws at the rear of the arm are provided to locate the latch so that the cross-cut travel is perfectly square. The blade or dado is maintained parallel to the arm by opposing screw adjustments, or the tool may be given any lead or heel desired. The accurate vertical position of either is maintained by a positive mechanical aligning adjustment and is checked for accuracy by a square. The table can be adjusted so that the tool touches the surface of the work in a perfectly even scratch line at any location on the work table. These adjustments to maintain accuracy are available to the operator during the entire life of the machine. No other machine has these adjustments. This popular model has an electric motor unit built in accordance with NEMA standards that is totally enclosed in an inner case to protect it from dust and moisture. This motor unit is kept cool by a blower fan at one end of the enclosed motor case, which provides a strong cooling draft over the motor. The fan is guarded by an end bell, which controls the flow of the air and permits handling the motor. No oiling is necessary except in the motor, which is lubricated here once every several months. An exclusive DeWalt feature is that all exposed machine parts are cadmium plated to prevent corrosion. The machine castings are sandblasted, ground, and filled before finishing. None except the finest modern machines have this precision tool finish and appearance. There are only 6 positions in which a saw blade is generally used: cross-cut, angle cut, straight rip, bevel crosscut, compound crosscut, and bevel rip. There are only 6 popular positions in which a dado head is commonly used: straight cross dadoing, gaining, plowing, radius cutting, rabbeting, and grooving. There are 3 most common positions for an OG cutter, namely, to produce the full bead and cove, the bead, or the cove. The 6 saw cuts, the 6 dado cuts, and the 3 shaper cuts total 15 different setups. The DeWalt is the only machine that can give you a sample cut of each of these 15 cuts within 15 minutes, including all changes of tools and positions. Compare this average time of 1 minute with your present average time, and you will understand why we say that a DeWalt will pay handsome dividends on setup time alone. The DeWalt will equal and frequently exceed the performance of any of the individual purpose manually operated machines required to duplicate any one of these operations. Since a DeWalt can do practically every job of which most types of manually operated woodworking machines are capable, it will pay increased dividends because it is seldom idle. If any company's manually operated sawing, dadoing, and shaping machines are all working all of the time, each of those machines can be replaced by a DeWalt with an increase in production because of flexibility to take care of peak volumes on any operation, reduction of material handling because all tools are adjusted to the material, resulting in a reduction of floor space required. As an example, if your woodworking department had 9 machines, 3 cut-off, 2 rip, 2 dados, 2 shapers, and these machines were all DeWalts, they could be converted at will into 9 cut-off saws, 9 rip saws, 9 dado machines, or 9 shapers. This same flexibility enables the operator to route his work directly from one DeWalt to another, irrespective of the type of operation, reducing handling costs to a minimum, allowing uninterrupted flow of material through the shop. You can do the same amount of work on a DeWalt in 10 minutes that any manually operated belt-driven machine can do in 15 minutes. This same machine, with the proper equipment, can be applied just as efficiently to the cutting of metals, brick, stone, and a large variety of materials. In the large number of popular priced models, almost any desired capacity may be obtained. With the DeWalt, the man is the limiting factor and not the machine. We will gladly demonstrate one of these machines to you at any time, at any place, and without obligation.